It appears that a cosmic string time machine is a project for the future. Timescale, however, does not deter the time travel enthusiast. And God's theories encourage others to search the universe for naturally occurring time machines. In fact, as soon as physicists began to view space-time as a terrain, they started to search for ways to leap across or tunnel through it.
The best way to travel in time is to use some sort of shortcut between 2 points in space. On Earth, we're familiar with bridges and tunnels that create shortcuts. We need to do something like that in space, and then we could turn it into a time machine.
Professor Paul Davies has analysed all current theories of time travel. He's convinced that the strongest theoretical structure is something called a wormhole. Gravity warps the space-time fabric, and those interested in time travel claim that if this warping is enough, the fabric can bend back on itself. The wormhole is a connection between two regions of curved four-dimensional space-time. It has two mouths and a throat. So the time traveller could travel through the wormhole faster than it would take for light to travel across space-time.
Imagine that this sheet of paper here is part of space. We know space can be curved, and we can imagine it being curved right around like this, so it can connect up with itself in two different ways. The long way, around like that, and the shortcut through the tunnel that connects the two ends of the paper here.
In fact, the architecture of the wormhole has a logic we are already familiar with today.
This is a great example of a wormhole. You could go down in the elevator, across the street, and up in the elevator the other side, or you could take the shortcut through the bridge. That's exactly the same with a wormhole in space.
Like many in the time travel fraternity, Davies isn't deterred by the fact that scientists have yet to find a wormhole.
When I was a student, people talked about black holes, but nobody knew if they were really out there. Now we know black holes are for real. Well, we also talked about wormholes decades ago. Are they out there too?
And it's this that scientists in Europe hope to find out. Geneva, Switzerland is home to CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. According to the scientists who work here, a new epoch of physics is about to begin. This is the world's largest particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider. Buried deep under the ground of Geneva, this 27-kilometer tubular ring will smash atoms together at close to the speed of light to recreate the conditions immediately after the Big Bang. When the subatomic particles smash together, they will produce tiny fireballs of primordial energy. Scientists hope this might shine a light on what the universe was like at its birth and illuminate elusive subjects such as dark matter, extra dimensions, and maybe even wormholes.
It's a very long shot, but we hope to be able to investigate whether we can actually create little black holes and little wormholes and little time loops.
Today, engineers lower one of the last pieces into place. The world waits with bated breath to see what this accelerator might reveal.
We're going to a land that has never been explored, and we might find these things if we're lucky.
Teams of scientists from all over the world will analyze the data from the accelerator and perhaps reveal once and for all whether wormholes can graduate from fantasy to reality. Some time travel enthusiasts believe that time travel to the past will be achieved not by us, but by a super advanced civilization. People with galactic power at their fingertips. One American scientist, however, is convinced he has the answer to traveling back in time, and he's got the evidence to prove it. Today, Professor of Physics at the University of Connecticut, Ron Mallett, thinks he's on the verge of traveling back in time.
Before, we felt like we were prisoners of time. Now, with time travel, we may be able to actually really know what's going to be happening and be able to do something about the past.
What makes Mallett different is that he doesn't take a purely theoretical approach to journeying through the fourth dimension. This maverick inventor thinks the age of time travel is now.
Because of the fact that, the progress we made with space travel in the 20th century, and I think that people now have this notion that anything is possible. The new frontier in a lot of people's mind is time travel. The early work of my colleagues that really inspired me was the work that had been done in rotating black holes, in wormholes, and in cosmic strings. All of these things lead to the possibility of time travel into the past. What I was interested in was a mechanism, something that could be used as a device that was different.
The common theme that unites rotating black holes, wormholes, and cosmic strings is gravity. Mallett searched to find a new way to harness gravity in order to time travel. Though light has no mass, it does have energy. Mallett was convinced that he had to take an unorthodox step to build his time machine.
And I found that light could be used to control gravity. And since gravity controls time, then that meant that I could use light to control time. And that's the basis of my inspiration and my theory.
Mallett guarded his ideas. Before announcing his theory, he had to make sure it had substance. He wanted to find a way to replicate the frame dragging of a black hole in order to twist space-time around into a loop. The answer was staring him in the face.
And I thought, wait a minute, if I can create the circulating beam of light, then this circulating beam of light can lead to a twisting of space. Should lead to a twisting of space. And if it does lead to a twisting of space, then it should also lead to a twisting of time.
For months, Mallett worked on his equations. He checked and double-checked the figures until he was ready to unveil his ideas to the world. While cosmic strings and wormholes would require an advanced super-civilization with the power of the galaxy at their fingertips, Mallett claims his time machine could be built not in the future, but today.
What you're seeing are four intersecting laser beams that are forming a square in which the light is circulating around, and the space is being dragged around by that. And in addition to the twisting of space, eventually in a real model, you'll have a twisting of time as well.
This is a model of Mallett's time machine. According to his theory, the laser beams will create enough gravity to replicate the frame dragging of a rotating black hole. Some claim this theory is off the wall, but Mallett insists his machine could create a minute time loop.
The real size of the real device, however, is going to be only about the width of a human hair, and rather than just having 7 lasers like this model, there'll be 10,000.
Mallett is now ready to step from model to time machine. The time traveler in his minute machine will be a subatomic particle.
Think if we could warn ourselves of future catastrophes. We don't need to send someone back. If we could just send information back, or if we could send back scientific information, medical information. I mean, think about that. Think about if we could send back a cure for AIDS, a cure for cancer. That's more significant than sending people back.
The boy who dreamed of traveling back in time to save his father's life might be on the verge of building a time machine. But Mallett, the physicist, now accepts he'll never be reunited with his father. Time travel to the past will only begin the moment his machine is switched on. Only time will tell if Mallett's machine is successful. But creating a machine able to travel into the past would pose a dilemma which many have struggled over for decades. No matter how attractive rewriting history might seem, any change would have consequences. If the time traveler alters the past, how would that affect the present?
That would lead to paradoxes, like if you killed your grandfather before your father was conceived.
For many, time travel to the past is simply too big a leap of faith.
We all are traveling to the future, whether we like it or not. We can fast forward by traveling near the speed of light, but the difficulty is to come back again. I haven't met anyone from the future.
But others find a solution to this argument: parallel universes. This truly does sound like science fiction, yet the evidence speaks for itself.
Common sense says that if I have tiny little billiard balls and I shoot them through a slit, I should get one big billiard ball hitting the screen over there. But here's a laser beam made out of individual particles of light, photons. When I shoot photons through a slit, lo and behold, look at this. This is the money shot. Instead of one big dot, we see multiple dots, as if the photon were many places at the same time.
Everything in the universe is made from subatomic particles. If photons can be in two places at once, could we?
We physicists now believe that in some sense the universe itself split into two universes. In one universe, the photon went to the right. In another universe, the photon went to the left. So in other words, there could be an infinite number of parallel universes, each one splitting off from the other ones. When I was a graduate student, I almost fell off my chair, realizing that perhaps not only electrons being two places at the same time, perhaps I am two places at the same time. Now, of course, I felt real. I felt as if I was just one person. But then I began to realize that perhaps my own body was splitting into multiple universes all the time.
In the parallel universe view, our universe is like a playing card in a deck of many. Not universe, but a multiverse. We coexist, and we could visit these parallel universes through time travel.
Multiple universes is perhaps the cleanest, simplest way to resolve all the time travel paradoxes. There are no paradoxes at all if you believe in the many worlds theory.
According to this theory, our view of history is out of date. Our logic told us that events were linear. They go by like stations: World War II, the atomic bomb, the first man on the moon. But in the parallel universe view, our universe is one of many in a giant switching yard. The time traveler simply jumps tracks.
Every time you go into a time machine, in some sense, you're monkeying with somebody else's past.
Time travel theories may sound far-fetched. Yet for the last century, pioneers have pushed the boundaries, turning science fiction into reality. They have blended imagination with knowledge to prove once and for all that time travel will happen. We may have only journeyed a fraction of a second into the future, but the time travel pioneers continue undeterred, driven by the knowledge that every epic adventure begins with a single step.